about Visa and I think MasterCard cutting Russia out, which has already now been replaced by the Union card, which will operate through Chinese banking. This is the shape of things to come, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I mean, this is probably the most self-defeating U.S. policy of 2022. I say that, and there's a lot of self-defeating U.S. policies because the West underestimate its own strength and they underestimate the power of China because China definitely got Russia's back. China and Russia have been had a long-standing friendship, stretched all the way to at least 1989. A lot of people think China and Russia still stuck in the Sino-Soviet split era, but that era ended in 1989 when Gorbachev visited Beijing to meet up with Deng Xiaoping. And since then, China and Russia had excellent relationship. And it's not in the interest of China to see Russia fall before the power of NATO because they know they will be next if Russia does fail. And China now has the power to financially support Russia. So Visa and MasterCard, they're just essentially ceding grounds to the Chinese banking system at this moment.
Yes, and ditto the SWIFT, cancelling Russia's access to SWIFT, though not to the two accounts that deal with the import of oil and gas, although Russia has just closed the main pipeline to Germany. By cutting Russia out of SWIFT, Russia and China swiftly did a deal that will allow Russia to use the clearance apparatus in China.
Yeah, exactly. China actually created the SIP system, which is an alternative to SWIFT back in 2015 in anticipation of U.S. using SWIFT as a financial weapon. Now, SWIFT is one of the bases of U.S. dollar hegemony because, as we know, U.S. dollar enjoyed the status of world currency since World War II because U.S. was the world's largest economy. And then in 1970s, U.S. worked out a deal with Saudi Arabia to price the oil in U.S. dollars, and other oil producers followed suit. So this is what became known as petrodollar. This is the basis of petrodollar, and a financial strength is one of the pillars of the U.S. empire. And it's quite amazing to me now U.S. is sabotaging one of its own pillars of its own hegemony because now Russia will be forced to move off the dollar and to settle its trade with China, one of its top trading partner, in yuan. And this is just the beginning of an end for the dollar hegemony because as of earlier this year, Russia-China trade, only 17% was settled in yuan. But now they're going to move most of it in yuan. And this is just the beginning. I mean, Russia, U.S. did this to Iran a couple of years earlier, right? So we're going to see Russia, Iran, and pretty soon more people is going to switch off this SWIFT system because one of the reasons for the dollar hegemony is because it's not only U.S. was the world's largest economy, relatively stable, but because it's also relatively easy to use the system that's already in place. But now people will look at U.S. and see it as at any moment if their government became target of the U.S. government policy, that they could be taken off the SWIFT system. So U.S. dollar is no longer a safe haven currency, and more people are going to have their backup plans. And this is really, like I said, this is really the stupidest U.S. policy in the 2022 yet.
Yeah, although there's a long way to go in 2022, so we'll wait.